And
Are you
however,
reporting it now?
okay, there we go. 'Cause in
Oh,
the
there we
absence,
go. Okay, all right.
in the absence of a plan, there could be an avalanche of PUDs. The statesman one being like sort of the harbinger, and then like, and if a plan is rushed through, there may be uncooked affordability standards. And so, therefore, we're asking, if anything, that council do everything possible to demonstrate a commitment to the 20% affordability standards discussed at the outset, or demonstrate a commitment to those standards, that were discussed at the outset. And the things we recommend that the things they might do are either just hard coding a flood that those standards wherever necessary, or reserving land wherever necessary, even though we know that this may or may not be something that they can do. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I don't know if that's in line with what your concerns are, Karen.
I think it's a good step.
Do you want to take a crack at putting some language to that little conditional structure?
If staff can send me the audio file.
Right on.
All right, we can do that.
And then, Erica, like, I think you'll feel comfortable telling us, listen, this part is just like totally pie in the sky. If you put like having them set aside land that's like totally against state law or this or that or something that we don't know, like what we can't recommend, then I know that you'll tell us that we shouldn't do that. And then we could just kind of limit the language to whatever it should be. But I think the original draft should be what purely comes from Karen's thoughts, and we can go from there. Does that sound about right?
That works.
Okay.
So we're adding a discussion item to
And
kind of
action.
pass an action for that recommendation.
And do you want it to be worded discussion and possible action regarding affordability aspects of the South Central waterfront? Karen, is that what you're
Sure.
thinking? Okay.
The other little or not so little piece of this is that the South Central Waterfront Advisory Board made a recommendation on the PUD application, and the commission usually does not make recommendations on specific projects, and I'm always wary of doing anything to change that, because we could get really into the weeds approving or not approving or just considering all sorts of projects. My concern is that the vote that I made was one that I hoped would help to keep the process moving and to gain more concessions for all of the values of the PUD, but not a vote that the commission would have taken had that been posed to our commission, which is to say I voted in favor of it.
I missed something there. I'm sorry.
You saying you voted in favor of the statesman PUD, but you don't think it's necessarily a best practice to have to vote on those things, and is that right?
That's right. I voted on it because the board was and voting, and I'm a member of the board. I guess I could have abstained and said, we just don't, no matter what context you put these commissioners in, we don't vote on projects.
Gotcha.
But
okay.
It seemed to me like the negotiations are ongoing, and that there were several other items put in there that people hope more negotiations will occur over. I'm not sure there's a lot of pressure after the vote's taken for more negotiations to take place, but it still does go to the Planning Commission, and I'm sure there will be many negotiations before it leaves the Planning Commission and before it leaves the City Council. So in that sense, there's still time to make these reforms. I think that we're just in a really hard place, because the official City Council adopted vision of this place is 4% affordable housing on the Statesman tract, and that leaves them a lot of room to say, we don't need any refinement, we don't need any more affordable housing, because it says in the plan, this is the city's plan, it's 4%.
Right.
So I stared at Richard Suttle. I stared real hard, and he said he heard me. And he suggested the wording that leaves a little room that we might discover something that'll create some more affordable housing. So I don't know if the commission needs to know all that. I think it might just be kind of too much information.
Yeah, I don't know if it might be too much information. I guess is my general thought, but and so is the one item on Schwab sufficient? And then you said you had a couple of other items.
The others maybe more of a question, but I've heard a concern about the equity tool scoring for possible projects like developing apartment complexes, that an organization that was led by either a predominantly Anglo board or predominantly Anglo staff would not score enough points to be able to move forward. And it seems like that could be a procurement issue for the city.
Yes,
so
that's been flagged as a potential procurement issue. So we're currently working with law on that to see if that needs to be softened somehow.
But that's not necessarily something that our commission needs to worry about. We can leave that in the hands of HPD and the city and city law or legal or whatever. Or do we need to do something about it?
I don't know if Karen was suggesting a recommendation.
I'm sorry. That's what I'm asking, Karen.
No, I think it's more of a question. The buck has to stop somewhere on that. I also wonder, on the list of eligible expenses and things that I guess the voters approved are things that I don't think have the same durability as the amount of time it would take to pay off the debt on those things, like business counseling or rent vouchers.
So it's not debt. So it actually has more flexibility than the bonds. Because this is coming from property tax revenue, which is what's paying
I didn't
for.
know we could do that.
Well, it's made from. I mean, that's how Project Connect is being paid for too, is property tax revenue. But I haven't been part of the conversations. I'm hearing about them second or third hand. There is a question about, well, there's some squishy language in the contract with the voters that says, the anti-displacement funding could be used for affordable housing or home repair or whatever, and don't quote me on this language, but it's along the lines of, or other anti-displacement programs or economic development, well, not economic development, some sort of like, okay, maybe I should actually find the language, but it basically says, it could be used for things that are more like economic development to create better jobs, to keep people there. And I think different people are interpreting that language in different ways. And I don't know, and I'm certainly not an attorney, so I don't know if the attorneys are trying to define it really narrowly as if it were a bond, and therefore bond type restrictions would apply or what, but people are looking into that one as well.
Okay.
Good. Well, I got an instructive. That's nice. And it seems like then those things are being looked into and addressed.